Genesis 45. Joseph revealed to his brothers. Verse 1. Then Joseph could not restrain himself before all those who stood by him, and he cried out, making everyone go out from me. So no one stood with him, while Joseph made himself known to his brothers, and he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard it. Then Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Does my father still live? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed in his presence. And Joseph said to his brothers, Please come near to me. So they came near. Then he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But now do not therefore be grieved or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years in the famine has been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. And God sent me before you to preserve a posterity for you in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it was not you who sent me here, but God, and he has made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Hurry and go up to my father, and say to him, Thus says your son Joseph, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not tarry. You shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near to me, you and your children's children, your flocks and your herds, and all that you have. There I will provide for you, lest you and your household and all that you have come to poverty, for there are still 5 years of famine. And behold, your eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see that it is my mouth that speaks to you. So you shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that you have seen, and you shall hurry and bring my father down here. Then he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. Moreover, he kissed all his brothers and wept over them, and after that his brothers talked with him. Now the report of it was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brothers have come. So it pleased Pharaoh and his servants well. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Say to your brothers, Do this, load your animals and depart, go to the land of Canaan. Bring your father and your households and come to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. Now you are commanded do this. Take carts out of the land of Egypt for your little ones and your wives. Bring your father and come. Also do not be concerned about your goods, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. Then the sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them carts, according to the command of Pharaoh, and he gave them provisions for the journey. He gave to all of them, to each man, changes of garments. But to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of garments. And he sent to his father these things, 10 donkeys loaded with good things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and food for his father for the journey. So he sent his brothers away, and they departed. And he said to them, See that you do not become troubled along the way. Then they went up out of Egypt, and came to the land of Canaan, to Jacob their father. And they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart stood still, because he did not believe them. But when they told him all the words which Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived. Then Israel said, It is enough. Joseph my son is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. So let's read commentary here for this chapter, Genesis 45. Commentary is coming from the Tony Evans Bible Commentary. Verse 1 through 3, commentary. Joseph couldn't take the suspense any longer, so he commanded, Send everyone away from me. Then alone with his brothers, he revealed his identity, which may have included revealing his circumcision and thus confirming his descent from Abraham. He also asked about their father, Joseph, had been thinking about his moment for weeks. So he was ready to have the reunion, but his brothers weren't as prepared. They sat in stunned silence, terrified in his presence. Joseph, the brother they had intended to kill, was now standing before them with all the power in the world, and to their surprise he was extending not vengeance but mercy. May we follow his example. Verse 4 through 8. Joseph displayed varsity level maturity next. Though he'd been imprisoned by his brothers without cause, he was able to see the hand of God in that evil thing the brothers had done. He said, God sent me ahead of you to preserve life. The terrible string of events had all led Joseph to his position of privilege just in time to save the lives of tens of thousands, and he had noticed the connection. Think about it. Had Joseph gotten his way at any point along this journey, he might have stopped God's plan. Had he not been sold into slavery, he wouldn't have been in Egypt. Had he not been falsely accused in Potiphar's house, he wouldn't have been in the jail. Had he not been in the jail, he wouldn't have met Pharaoh's servants. Had the cupbearer remembered him and had him released earlier, he wouldn't have been in a place where he could be easily summoned to interpret Pharaoh's dream. If any one of the links in this chain were broken, famine would have overtaken the land, killing countless people, including Joseph and the rest of his family. All the promises God had made to Abraham, Isaac, and even Jacob would have come to nothing. Joseph's entire life demonstrated the truth that Paul declared: all things work together for the good of those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. Romans 8, verse 28. When God doesn't intervene in your life the way you want and in the moment you want, it may be that he is working behind the scenes to accomplish in his perfect time something so much bigger and so much better than you could ever imagine. In verse 9 through 13, Joseph told his brothers to return quickly to their father and give him the news. He invited Jacob to settle in the land of Goshen with all of his children, grandchildren, flocks, herds, and everything else. Thus Jacob and also Joseph's brothers came under Joseph's authority and care, just as God had long ago promised Joseph that they would. And in verse 14 and 15, full of emotion, Joseph and his brothers were reunified. Both Joseph and Benjamin wept, and Joseph proved his renewed intimacy with his brothers by offering each one a kiss. It had taken 22 years, but Joseph and his brothers were finally reconciled. Now, Joseph's brothers wanted to kill Joseph, but they sold him to slavery. And Joseph, he went through many challenges and he faced. But in the end, he became a king, a ruler of Egypt, and he gave mercy to his brothers. He forgave them. He didn't revenge them. He didn't give vengeance back to them. He gave mercy, which was very cool. So verse 16 through 23, the reunion was so exciting that even Pharaoh wanted to get involved out of gratitude to Joseph. He offered his entire family the best of the land of Egypt and the richness of the land. He also arranged for their transportation so that the large caravan could make the long journey with all their belongings. Jacob's family, seemingly on the cusp of starvation, had become fabulously wealthy in a moment. In verse 24, just before the journey, Joseph gave his brothers one command: don't argue on the way. The unity they had just achieved had taken decades to accomplish, and Joseph did not want to see it undone by quarrels over who was most responsible for the negative events of the past. He encouraged his brothers to move forward in their newfound unity rather than peering backward into the sinful disputes that had fractured their lives. We too are quick to resurrect old quarrels and remind each other of our past sins. But God speaks to us a bold word of encouragement through this story. You are all fellow travelers and fellow sinners. Don't argue on the way through life. Jacob, the last family member to learn about Joseph, was stunned and did not believe the report at first. But eventually the testimony of his sons, combined with the phenomenal gifts sent from Egypt, convinced him, and his spirit revived. God's plan, when hidden from our eyes can often lead us to despair. But if we can hold out until God is prepared to reveal what he is doing, our spirits will be revived. Who knows what reunions, reconciliations, and renewals God has in store for those who trust him. Okay, let's see. That is Genesis 45. Stay tuned for Genesis 46.